Want a real vibes only, unfiltered take on just about anything and everything? Entrepreneur, best-selling author, speaker, and busy mom, Chelsea Husum shares her unapologetic views about life, business, and this beautifully imperfect hot mess world we face each and every day with lip service and lashes. Now here's your host, Chelsea Husum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Lip Service and Lashes with Chelsea Husum. I am so excited to have my friend Lou Diamond on the show today. Welcome, Lou.
Oh, Chelsea, thank you so much for having me here. I did not bring my lashes, but I'll bring some lip service. That's for certain.
Well, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody. Lou is owner. He is the Thrive Loud Productions CEO. He's a podcaster, speaker, author of the book Speak Easy. Lou is all about empowering people to connect, engage, and win in their lives and their businesses. So I want to dive all into that, but I want to hear, how did you get to this point in life? Were you born baby Lou and you're like, I'm going to be a podcaster and a speaker? Or was it a weaving crazy web of life that brought you here? Like, how did you end up doing what you're doing today?
It definitely was not one of those plans that the minute I came out of the womb that I was going to be doing the things that I do. And in fact, I guess you know how they say when you look at your career, it's hard to map it where it goes forward, but when you are forward and you look backwards, you can logically see how all of those things connected. I might be the picture in the dictionary for exactly whatever that might be.
Yeah, me too.
I think that I have always been an extrovert. I have always loved to be on stages. I've always had a pretty good voice, but I never knew that any of that would all package together into the thing that really drives me, which is I love having conversations with people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the epicenter of all connections. Doesn't matter from when I was a little kid. I was so curious. Curiosity just seeps through all my bones and comes out my ears. And it's just, I've got so many questions all the time that I'm always trying to figure out basically why something is, or how someone met, or what really makes them tick. That's the type of person that I'm about. And I would say that I've had a really successful and fortunate career. I went to a really good college. I got a really good job. I worked in professional services, and eventually took all of those skills into what would be the most extroverted thing you could do, which would be sales. Obviously, because I love to connect with people and better understand all the ways that I can either sell a product or a service, or how I can help them. But I guess underlying all of it, and the thing that I missed the most, was my dad was an entrepreneur, and he had his own, he had local jewelry store businesses in the New York area. And I used to work for him, and I got to watch him go through the ups and downs of owning your own business. So I think it was in my blood. So after working for years in corporate, that was definitely pulling at me. So looking back at the whole career, Chelsea, I would have to say that it makes perfect sense what I do right now. But it never was going to be where it's at if I didn't have all those experiences and all those, the chance of working in corporate for so long and then being pulled out to figure out how to help people at the entrepreneurial level, and finding this vehicle that you and I both work on, podcasting, to really help people better connect.
I love that. Okay, I have a few questions off that. One, just because I'm curious, you know how people say they're like an introverted extrovert or whatever, right? Or like you go out, like in sales, you go out, you're putting all the energy out, like you're on, right? Do you personally then need to go back and kind of like have some alone time and recharge? Or is that just like how you recharge, is just like being on and just like going out and talking to everybody?
Somebody made a comment to me once that if you put me in an even more social environment, like there's no limit to my extrovertedness. We had this big work party. I remember this is when I worked on Wall Street. At the time, it was for Bank of America Merrill Lynch.
Okay.
And we had this, I wouldn't say it was a year-end party, but it was one of those like karaoke night type things where it certainly was, there might've been like a work dinner beforehand, but we ended
Heavy
up like
drinking, heavy drinking.
there was a lot of alcohol. There was, just opportunities for everyone to like, open up even more.
Yeah.
And someone had pointed out, he goes, you would think it would like invert with Lou, but he's like this all the time. And this only amplifies it. So I am the extrovert's extrovert is the best way to put it.
Okay.
But I do not mind being by myself, hanging out, not going out. I'm the perfect one. Like, hey, you don't want to do anything? No big deal. So I think those are my recharging moments. And that's when I am doing it. But it's not because I like consciously need to do it. Yeah. I could probably feed off the energy that I create every single day.
You get like 5 minutes. You're like, I'm good. Okay. I'm back at it. It's funny. When I was 4, I used to play alone a lot at daycare, and my daycare lady told my mom that she thought I had mental issues because I was like, I would just happily be playing alone. And my mom's like, that bitch. She's like, when I graduated high school, she's like, what do you think that bitch would say now?
I have to say though, I loved pretending when I was a kid. And that's actually a fun thing. I used to have like, my mom was like, does Lou have friends over? Like I'd literally would be like, I could probably play an entire like baseball game or football game in a 4x4 room of just doing nothing and like everything in my mind. So it was always very creative, which is something that I know now because now I help so many people creating content that I think part of that extroverted outlet is creating content, something I am doing more and more every day. And that definitely has always been inside me. I find that that's very healthy, by the way. If you're talking to yourself, it's all good. Just to be clear, there are days that I'm talking to myself. Like I just basically like say, I go, wait, hold on. How do you think this would sound? And now with social media and promotions, I literally am talking to myself. We just did a shoot with a bunch of people on my team, or they were watching me do. You've seen these social media videos where like you're talking to yourself, and I would take the glasses on and off and do this kind of thing. Totally cringeworthy. My 20 some odd year old children, like literally their eyes are probably stuck in the back of their neck because they've rolled them so much from how awful to see their dad just be as cheesy as possible. So yeah, that happens. It does. And
I love it.
It's all an outlet for me.
Our goal is to embarrass our children. Like if we're not doing that, we're doing something wrong, and we need to try harder.
I completely agree. We need to do that full 24/7. And I feel good when I do it too, by the way.
All right. Well, in a minute, I want to dive into the business, but I do have another question. Since your dad was an entrepreneur, what's one of the biggest lessons that you learned from him? Because let's be honest, if you're an entrepreneur, I always say we're a special kind of batshit crazy. Like it is not for the faint of heart. It is a whole different ballgame, right? So what is the biggest lesson you learned from him watching him?
The importance of being nice over anything else.
I love that.
And I'm not talking about just to your customers, some of the business partners, but the people that work for you. Just carrying around this sense of kindness. I've been told in my life that I'm pretty likable, and that's only because I think I came from one of the most likable human beings. And by the way, my mom is even more likable, arguably, than my dad. But my dad is just as childish as anything else. He still thinks he's 18. I think he thinks he's 8. You should see some of the candy that he will eat if he has a choice to. But always he front runs with being kind and open. And there's a warmth that he brings. And I watched him do it with customers. I watched him do it with the people that work for him, that created a sense of loyalty and trust very quickly. And it didn't matter what business you were in. If you could bring that to even the corporate business, into running your own company, if you start with that as the premise of what you do every day, you're going to crack a couple of smiles out there. And that, in this world, we like to have those. So it certainly made the challenges of the ups and downs, which is really hard. And you have great days and you have terrible days. I used to use this example when I worked in corporate. you'd go into a sales meeting and it was like a full military expedition. It was like you had a whole bunch of troops, you had full body armor, and you were absolutely like, protected. And oh, by the way, in the med at any point in time, you can get on the phone and buzz an aircraft carrier will shoot a missile to disarm somebody. When you're an entrepreneur, you basically walk into a meeting with basically a stick and a loincloth. You basically are at full disclosure to everything that happens, and all the whips and beats and hurt can happen to you. You feel it.
Yes.
So,
totally.
So I think cracking a smile or always being kind was just a good way to warm the situation.
I love that. And honestly, I say if I'm successful as a mother at all, my kids will be kind. That's that's truly ultimately all I want. They don't need to be the smartest in the class or this or that. I mean, ultimately, you have to have empathy for others. And I completely agree. So thank you for that. All right. So I want to know you, not the businessman. I said we'll get to business. We still will. But who is Lou the person, not the businessman? What are your absolute favorite things to do on the planet?
Oh my goodness. All right. So I'll give one particular order. Hanging out with my family is top of the top of the pyramid. Obviously my wife, my two amazing grown kids, they're in their 20s, and they're like so much better versions of me and my wife today. It's like, you got to love it. I'm like, look at what the potential is. We did so well here. So obviously them, and even my extended family, I'm still very close with my sisters, my parents, and my in-laws, everybody. Family to me is hanging with them no matter what the activity is.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of a golf bug and a little bit of a pickleball bug, because I live down in South Florida and you can do these things quite often.
Yes.
So I do love those things, and I seem to have a great personality for golf because most things don't really bother me too much, and golf is a game which could bother you if you let it.
Yes.
So I do love doing that. I also love. I know this sounds really interesting, and this could circle back to this, but I love what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love getting to meet people via this forum in these conversations. And I also love showing other people how they can do this better. This is like what I do.
Yep.
I'm literally, I'm living my purpose every single day. And to be able to exchange the currency of connection, which I call help. How can I help somebody else? And to assess what that situation is. It might not make me the richest person in the world, but it certainly makes me rich inside. And I know it makes other people feel valuable. So being able to do that is literally what I love doing. So I every now and then I'll be like, I got to get out of this chair and stop talking to people. But yeah.
But I love it. I don't want to.
I didn't want to do something different.
Well, I have to give you a plug, Lou. Like, you were massive help with me kind of, I was going to launch my podcast, and I'm just not creative in that way with the title and this and that. And you really helped me. You're like, we're close, but you're not there just yet. You were such a great help helping me strategize and really nail it and hit the ground running in the right way, and not just kind of half-assed because I didn't know what I was doing. So if you're listening and you have a podcast or you're thinking of starting one, like, Lou is a gem of a person, so helpful. So he has thousands of podcast episodes. Okay, I have like less than 10 right now if you're listening to this one. So
but it's so early yet, Chelsea. We the future is so bright.
It is. But I feel like if you have thousands of podcast episodes, you know what you're doing. Okay. And you do. So I vouch for you. So if you're listening and need help, please just follow him, listen to his podcast. So you own this company, you're a podcaster, a speaker, you are an author. Well, first of all, let's talk about the book, Speak Easy. Who is this for? Like, who needs to buy this and read this book?
So I've shared here that I love having conversations with people, and it was in a little bit of research, because as someone that loves to connect with people, I said, there's something to this conversation. And it took me a while to navigate it. And spoiler alert, the key to every connection in your life is having a good conversation.
Yep.
But I asked this kind of antithetical type of question, which was, well, not everybody has a good conversation. And it's true, right? We all don't always have the best conversations, right? You meet someone and you don't become a friend with somebody, or if you're in a sales meeting, you don't sell the person. If you try and interview for the job, you don't get the job. And you go on a first date and it doesn't turn into a second date, right? There's all these scenarios that have this. You tell your children to do something, yet for some reason, the message does not quite get through to
them. They
just
don't like to listen, Lou. They just don't listen.
It's so difficult. I know. So I state this, that, well, that's the reality of conversations that we live each and every day. And then I paused and said, but what if it wasn't? What if we connected with every conversation? And I went down that path to recognize the power of what that can do to you. And that is the Speakeasy book and the Speakeasy methodology, which teaches you the way you need to be ahead of every conversation, and knowing the ways to be within it and what to do afterwards. Because everything that we do circles around that conversation and the connections that we have. And I wanted a simple way to do this. There's lots of great sales books out there that will target you on how you can close the deal, or the things you should say, or the way you should position things. One of my very good friends, and I would equally call him a friend, colleague, and mentor, Phil M. Jones, wrote the incredibly amazing book, Exactly What to Say. And his book is What to Say in the Moment. And if you could practice those things ahead of time. It was my step back from that actually said, but we need to prepare ourselves on how we need to be. What's the mindset we need to have? What's the energy we need to bring to that situation? Do we understand who we need to be in that situation before we open our mouths and open anything up? So in that, in this general sort of being kind, an important, premise of being a great entrepreneur, there were a lot of things that we needed to do so that we can have these conversations. So the Speakeasy method, Chelsea, is really understanding how we can connect with every conversation and use that. Who's it for? It's for entrepreneurs. It's for business leaders. It's for podcasters. It's for understanding how to have better relationships within your family. I hate blanketly saying it's for everyone, but I think it's for everyone that understands the power of connection, how valuable it can be in your business and your life, and is looking for that extra tool that you can, in a reference, you can keep going back to remind yourself of what I need to be in that moment.
Well, it's anyone who's communicating and wants to do it better, which is all of us, truly. I mean, whatever you do, it can affect, work, life, all that stuff. I love that.
What's really cool though? I'm going to interrupt. This is really cool because this just happened. We're recording this in December.
Yes.
And the publisher, somebody from the publishing company was just in Hong Kong.
I saw that.
You saw that, and my book was in the shelf. And the funny part was there was only one copy left, and I said, I think we need to restock. So I did check it out.
That's so cool. I love that. Cool. I know.
Just to see your book in different parts of the world and stuff like that, which is kind of neat.
Yes, so, I love that. I love that. I got a text yesterday from a girlfriend in town. She owns a hair salon and boutique, and she's like, hey, we sold 3 books today. I'm like, well, that's fun. So someday I'll be in Hong Kong as well. But now, it's just more,
the days will get there. Well, I'll say this about you. Cool. I say this about you, Chelsea, and I'll let you make sure you drive this. One of the things that I was impressed with you about, which I know this show has a lot of that very extemporaneous way of doing, in our conversations when we're talking about what to do, you just spelled out exactly what the show should be, because what's between your ears and what's going on in your mind needs to come out in the world. There's a rawness to it that everyone should appreciate. So I'm just going to try and live that throughout the rest of this interview here. So,
well, thank you. Oh, well, that's a great segue. Okay. So I know your dad, and I want to hear a dad fail or 2, whatever, that you vividly remember, because I feel like if we're being real and actually just living it and enjoying it, you got to laugh. So what are some of your crazy stories from when your kids were younger or whatever?
Yeah. So to set the bar here, my children are 24 and 22. They're both working. They both live in New York City. And they turned out okay, although certainly not because of yours truly. I would
your
say
wife. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Janet, my wife, she deserves all the credit. She's the reason everything is pretty solid. But there's an important stage. I was really good. Once they were like 4 years, once they were potty trained, basically.
Yeah.
And like from 4 to 10, I was really good. I was a good dad. But those like really early infant stages, they weren't good.
Yeah.
And my son had a stomach bug when
Oh,
he was about 18 months old. And this was just classic. I don't know if this was so much of an epic parent fail, but it must have been something in the way I was holding him, whatever it was. But every time I went to go pick him up, the kid just puked all over me. And I mean,
oh.
like, and it was like one of those, like, the poor kid must have had some nutty bug. So here
Yeah.
we
It hits
were.
them hard.
And I know this
Oh,
because you're wearing sweatpants right now, but
yeah, I
I was
am.
wearing sweatpants, and he basically, like, I'm holding him like facing this way, and he threw up in front of me and like right in my crotch, right? And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there going, "Oh my God." So I picked him up. I went into the shower with everything I was wearing and what he was wearing,
Yeah.
which he thought was funny. And literally while we're in the shower, he threw up on me. I'm drying him off, making him feel better. We're giving him like Pedialyte to bring him back. I
Mm-hmm.
have no idea if I'm doing anything good. And sure enough, as soon as I put his new pajamas on, he throws
He
back up
puked again.
all over me again,
Oh,
literally onto me. So he was the projectile vomiter of the family, and he'll be glad if he ever gets a chance to hear this. But the real almost fuck up that I had was with my daughter. So when she was, my son is older than my daughter by like 2.5 years,
okay.
and my wife and I used to have this, like, I guess, baton passing thing, right? We were still doing the feedings late at
Yeah.
night. So I would take the 11 o'clock feeding and put the baby down, and then she would take the one at 2, 3 in the morning on the weeks that I was commuting in and out of work. But
Okay.
Fridays fucking sucked. Now, I'm not going to complain because I'm not the mom, and the moms, to all you moms out there,
We had to
women,
push a baby out of
you
our
guys had to push
vagina.
that thing out of
So,
there
yeah.
and make it clear you're the mom. We recognize that we are secondary citizens.
Yes.
I always loved my power and visibility when my children were born. Everybody came to the hospital and no one paid attention to the dad at all. It's always about,
Yeah.
how's the mom doing? How's the baby doing? And like, you're like, hello, I'm over here. No,
I
it doesn't
still
matter.
exist, everybody.
It doesn't matter. No, we don't exist. I fully have owned that and have helped people understand the importance of that. However, with my daughter, on one of those Friday nights, I had the late night feeding. That's when we would do the baton pass on the Friday. So here I was.
Mm-hmm.
She would get a chance to sleep, and it's 2 something in the morning, and before you know it, it's like 3 something in the morning, and my wife kind of rolls up. Where is Lou? And we go into my daughter's nursery, and I'm in this like rocking chair thing, and I'm holding her because I played a little bit of sports growing up. I never dropped the football, and I'm like holding her like this. The bottle is basically shoved in her mouth, totally empty at this point, and basically all the formula is all over her neck and all over the thing. And I'm basically passed out holding her. Both of us are fast asleep. I mean, like sitting there.
Oh,
She
that's funny.
screams, "Oh, you're going to drop the baby," type of thing. And no, I never dropped her, but literally it has been the story forever. Do you remember the time you almost dropped your daughter on her head?
Dad almost dropped you. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh my
yes,
God, I love
I
it.
get
That's
that.
funny.
So those would be the two, one the puking of my son, and the other is the gooey. It's a lot of gooey stuff is really where
It's
I was messed up.
nasty. Well, okay, since you threw me under the bus, yes, I am wearing sweatpants. We were chatting earlier because,
You should
hello,
be
I
comfortable.
always I put on a normal shirt when I'm recording a podcast and then naturally wear comfy pants and my cozy socks. Yeah, so I'm doing that and I always will, everyone.
You
So
did
just
not need to
keep that in
justify
your
that to your
mind.
listeners. Your listeners are excited
No,
that you're wearing
they
sweatpants.
probably are like, yes, girl, yes, get
Yes,
it.
totally. I'm with you.
Proud of you. Secondly, I have to say, I feel like I remember those days of them puking all over because it's like we all rarely, the four of us rarely get sick, but like we all would get violently ill at the same time. And so we're all like puking our guts out. And I remember one year, it was at Christmas, and my kids had puked on the carpet, the comforters, like all over their room, me. And I was in the like tub trying to clean the vomit off the comforter, which I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't come off. I just I throw them away. I'm like, screw
Yep.
this. I'm freaking throwing them away. But my mother-in-law walked in. I'm like, welcome to hell. And I'm just like, bleh. I'm up there gagging because I, have my elbows up with puke everywhere. It's horrific. I don't miss those days.
I don't. And what's funny is neither child remembers any of that, and
No.
they'll get me for other shit that I didn't do.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure was definitely my fault. But what I will say, and this is something I gave my kids two very important rules growing up.
Yeah.
No crying, because I had no patience for it. And actually, no, the rule number one was make your mom happy. Do not make your
That's
mom
a good
upset.
rule.
Make your
I
mom
like
happy.
that.
And number two is as simple as that. There's no whining or crying. Those were the two rules. And those were dad's rules. And no whining. Nobody really wanted the whining. The crying, look, if you got yourself hurt, you cry.
Yeah.
But the whining, that pitch, that tone that
oh yeah. It just
for the record, I'm incredibly proud of my kids. And I'm mostly proud because it always shocks me because you get to see over the years the worst of them. They go to you when they vent, when it's awful, and it's specifically my daughter more so than my son. But when other people come back and they say, "Oh, your kids are just so awesome," and I go, "Are we sure we're talking about the same people?"
It's so true though. That's the ultimate. You've won as a parent if you can send them out into the world and they're good people. I totally agree. And it is, I've read something once, like they, when they come home and are having tantrums and like losing their damn minds, they feel safe with us. Like after holding it in at school all day, potentially, they can come home and just lose it, right? But that's because they feel safe. But you created a good person that can go out in the world and be kind and a good kid. So
yeah, so we got that going for me. I just wish I would see it more often. Children, if you're listening, please be nice.
Yeah,
no, they're awesome now. So.
Please be nice to us. Funny. Well, it's not. I mean, funny. He didn't get hurt last night. I was making dinner and I hear this huge like noise, and there was a steel safe that fell on my child's head. Ooh. Somehow he didn't like break open bleeding, and then he's like, "I think my skull's just really thick, Mom," and I'm like, "Yep." Yep. I'm like, oh my God, how are you not bleeding? Like, are you okay? And he's just like in shock, I think. He's like, it really didn't hurt that bad. I'm really surprised. I'm like, me too.
I am surprised, by the way, like, and I hate to say this, but like, it's the wussification of America. Like the minute a kid bumps a head these days, they're like, oh, he's going into concussion protocol. Like as if he's like, an NFL player, right? I mean, I remember the term was, I got my bell rung when I was a kid. Like, you collided with somebody and yes, you saw stars, but pretty much if you were able to stand, you were back into action. I don't know.
Oh yeah. They're like, you're fine. Suck it up. You're fine. And you probably did have concussions.
Oh, I'm totally had concussions.
Guarantee.
But I feel like we've overreacted a little bit today. I think we can pull back the reins of the, aggressively, let's put our kids in a bubble type of thing. That would be my advice. Coming from somebody that almost dropped his kid when he was, at an early age.
Yes, Father of the Year right here.
Hey, I listen to you.
I'm getting Mother of the Year.
You are Mother of the Year.
I have so many more.
I will say though, on the episode where you shared those two stories, the one of the puking when driving out on a big champagne night, and then the other night with the kid. What was so amazing was the thing you were most mortified about was not the thing I would have thought you would have been most mortified about. Like the drinking thing was definitely, you were more upset about.
I know. I was. Yeah. So many stories.
Go back and listen to that, listeners, if you haven't yet. Go check it out.
Yes. Proud moments. I'll sprinkle those in every once in a while because I have so many. All right, let's see. I'm curious about this, and don't call me out personally, but you can. It's okay. I won't be hurt. What are some of the biggest mistakes people make when starting a podcast?
No. Let's make this clear that I think it's important to rewind a little bit here and just tell how I ended up helping people start a podcast. Was we figured out how to monetize podcasting way before most other people did. Not in the advertising revenue way. We figured out how to use the podcast to help grow your business. And the first thing I did was I offered it up as a course to teach other people. We called it the Speakeasy Podcast course, which was kind of fun. And we had literally a wait list of people that wanted to go in this. And it was a great way to then realize that we needed to be helping people avoid some of the mistakes that they would make starting a podcast. And without a doubt, the one that got me the most was this one particular podcast host who expected the minute that they had a show that like the floodgates would open and everyone would all of a sudden start listening, start coming in, and social accounts would burst through your followers, and your listener downloads would go through the roof, and literally the phone would just ring as if it was like, the first podcast ever created. And a lot of that goes by the rule that I've learned, and you may have heard me say this, Chelsea, but it's the biggest secret of podcasting. And that is whatever great content you have. And if you're listening to the show, this show's got fun, energizing content that you definitely will be able to take. But here's the message I will leave you with. As it relates to a podcast host, you have to lose the thought that it matters if they initially listen to the podcast. It's more important that they know that it's out there. The lesson that most podcast hosts have is that they're trying to figure out what message they do, they're trying to figure out what the structure of their show is, and they're trying to link it to something in their brand. Maybe it's the way that they speak, maybe it's their consulting or coaching practice they have. Maybe it's cool entrepreneurial stories or life stories of super moms like yourself who have to balance really challenging stuff. Like, to get to be a really good podcaster, it doesn't happen instantaneously. Yeah. So setting the expectation for podcasters to say, let's see what your product is. Let's get you going out there. I'm 1,000+ episodes on one particular show, and I'm still learning how to do it.
Exactly.
So the biggest mistake that podcasters have is that they feel that the minute that their show launches, or as we say in the business, your episode drops, that everything is going to be this magical success. Yeah. It is an evolution. It's a living thing, your program. It's not just one episode, it's the whole collection of them. And helping podcasters understand that it is a time thing, and there's different ways for every single host to grow their business and brand in their own unique way. And we have to figure out what that is. And sometimes we don't know it right away. There's certain things we know, but there's a bunch of stuff we have to kind of see organically what happens. That would be the expectation setting of podcasters, is the thing that needs to be flipped, Chelsea, right at the beginning.
Well, damn it, Lou, you've burst my bubble. I thought I'd be a millionaire by now, 5 episodes in. Oh, just kidding. I do love that. And we had talked too. It's, if you're striving for perfection, just knock it off. Stop trying to do perfection. Just freaking get the thing out there. Get it out there. And I told you were like, hey, move your camera, do this, the lighting, whatever. And I said, yes, I agree. It sucks. And I'm playing with this, I'm playing with that. But I said, in a year, I'm going to look back and be like, God, that sucked. But at least I started, because I could still be in a year planning it. Right. And so many people sit in that planning stage to try to get it perfect. And why? Just have it imperfect. Just get it out there. It'll hit the right people, right?
So there's a great story about a clients we're working with. I'm going to give them a shout out. There's these 2 women who recently lost their moms in the last year and a half. And they're both mindfulness coaches, and they both love podcasts. And when they came to me, they had an idea, but they weren't exactly sure what that idea was. And they were trying to stew what it should be. And I said, well, why don't we give it a go? Let's just do a short season and figure out what that looks like.
Yeah.
And what that ended up looking like is a pretty popular show called Our Dead Mothers. And
yes, you told me about it. I love that title.
And these 2 women, by the way, every show starts off with a meditation in the beginning, a short, brief meditation, and it ends with an amazing poem that Joy Solomon, one of the hosts, and Tracy Fink, the other, they coach each other, and they're working through how their dead mothers are still affecting them today and the lessons that they've learned. And they did a short first season to get it out there. They loved it. And now they are building season 2. They actually just wrote down the structure starting as when this episode comes out, or sometimes in 2025. So they are excited about it. But what's really cool is there was some hesitation, there was some fear, there was some having these uncomfortable conversations, very personal stuff that really was holding them back. But the show became the outlet for them to get it out there. And in getting it out there, it's spawned so many fun things. I think you liked it because their episode titles are brilliant. One of them is, "Does this podcast make my ass look fat?"
I
Which
love that so much. So much.
Chelsea even
Like,
said,
I really want that as my podcast name. I was like, damn it. That would have been, I literally would have picked that if they hadn't already used it. I was like, that is glorious.
and that was all about body image and the issues that their dead mothers had given them around body image, and they talked through it. So what was really cool, and I said this goes back to that whole thing about connecting with people, and that the currency is to help people. Their content was helping someone who might have also lost their mom or been going through the same thing, or just had a different relationship maybe with their mother and daughter. And I thought, if there was ever a power of podcasting that is unique, there's a lot of content out there, and not every piece of content is for everyone.
Exactly.
But there are certain niches and lanes that you can own and really build a strong community with, that you can connect with and add value in so many ways. So that to me was, I guess, a fun experience to see, and also just a good expectation to set.
Yeah, I love what you've told me about them, and I just love all of that. Like, it's meaningful. It's kind of tongue in cheek. It's like kind of fun and sassy. Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing, Lou. I want you to share, where can our listeners find out more about you? I will put all your links in the show notes, but how can we help support you?
Yeah, sure. Anyone can find me on social media at Thrive Loud, ThriveLoud. And you can go over to thriveloud.com, where you can learn all about Thrive Loud Productions. You could get the book Speak Easy, learn about the speaking that I do about connecting. And if you're a podcaster, go check out Thrive Loud Productions and learn about the different sites. Or if you want to be a podcaster, we might be able to help produce and create your program, which is something we love to do. Take you from launch to ongoing production, and many of the different things we do. That's where you can help me, and that's where you can find me.
Love that. So go check him out and listen to his podcast, buy his book. And I will say, like, I literally over 2 years ago was like, I'm going to start a podcast. And then my brain is just like jumbled squirrel craziness. And so finally, when I came to you and you're like, hi, here we go. I'll help you rein it in, bring it together. And honestly, I'm so grateful to you, how quickly you helped me like get my shit together. Let's go. And it's out now. So thank you so much. You were invaluable and wonderful. And we're always laughing, being stupid together. So thank you.
Well, and I want to say that what drew me to Chelsea is what I'm sure all you listeners are going to, is that, when she says, real vibes only, this is who you get. And that's what attracted me to say, that's somebody we can work with. That's somebody that has something fun and good to say. So your content's great, and keep it coming, because I can't wait to see what else comes out of there between those ears and that mouth.
Well, I appreciate you, Lou. Thank you so, so much. And everyone, thank you for listening to another Lip Service and Lashes. Always remember, no BS, just real vibes.
Thanks for listening to Lip Service and Lashes with Chelsea Husum. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Chelsea and her life as a hot mess mompreneur, head over to chelseahusum.com. And be sure to follow her on all social platforms. Thanks for listening, and just remember, no BS, just real vibes.